There are 6 different types of gears in this game. There are sword, helmet, chest, necklace, ring, and boots. On any gear, there are 4 things to know. The first is the level of the gear. This is important because it determines how strong your numbers are. The second is the main stat. The main stat will be the biggest number and will always increase when you upgrade it. The third is the substats, which can be randomly upgraded and are randomly selected. The last thing to know is the rarity of the gear. From highest to lowest is red, purple, blue, green, and gray. Focus on purple and red gear only. When you're in the equipment area, you will see 3 gear slots on the left and 3 gears on the right. This is important, so listen up. The 3 gears on the left will always have the same main stat. The sword will always have flat attack, the helmet will always have flat health, and the chest will always have flat defense. The 3 gears on the right are more randomly generated because their main stats are also random. Necklaces will have random main stats but are unique because they can have crit damage and crit chance, which cannot be found on other gears. The ring will also have random main stats but are unique because they can have effect resistance and effectiveness on their main stat. Boots also have random main stats but are unique that it can have flat speed on its main stat. Now let's talk about stats in general. There are 9 general stats, but there are 12 gear stats, which are flat attack, flat defense, percent defense, flat health, flat speed, percent effectiveness, percent effect resist, percent crit chance, percent crit damage, and percent dual attack in this game. Any stats that increase this section are based on your base stats on your hero. For example, if a gear that gives me 60% attack increase, it will be 60% off of my base attack of my hero, which in this case will be 1068 for Furious. Any stats in this section are just additive and do not reflect on your base hero stats. For example, my Furious has 19% crit chance. If I have a gear that increases my crit chance by 60%, it would be a total of 79%. There's also something called set gear. Remember how I said there are 9 general stats? Well, there are sets for each one of those stats. For example, they're an attack set, defense set, health set, speed set, etc. There are a few more sets in the game, such as lifesteal set, but you don't need to worry about those for a long time, and you can pretty much figure it out on your own. You can only have a total of 3 different sets at the same time. Sets require a certain amount of same set gear to benefit from the set. For example, to get a bonus of a speed set, you need 4 pieces of gear that are speed set. Now that you understand the basics of stats and gear, let us focus on the gearing part, which means to make or find certain gear for your certain hero to meet a desired outcome. And the keyword is desired outcome. Always ask yourself this question: what do I need on my hero right now? For example, on my Alexa, if I want her to be a debuffer with her poison, I need a minimum of 65% effectiveness to penetrate the wyvern's effect resistance. The rule of thumb for effect resistance is you take the number of the effect resistance and you subtract 15, and that is the amount you have to have. The Wyvern 13 has 80% effect resistance, which means I need 65 effectiveness. To manage your equipment, click this icon right here. Now I have 2 options. I can either find effectiveness in the substat of every gear to get a total of 65% effectiveness, or I can just use a ring with a main stat effectiveness to get a huge and guaranteed boost of 60%. Keep in mind that the level of the gear can change the main stat number, so a level 70 gear can only reach 50% effectiveness for that main stat. That's really it, it's that simple. The difficult part comes in grinding the perfect gear and rolling the perfect numbers. Allow me to explain this. So my Vildred right now needs a better chest piece. This is 11% crit damage and 11% crit chance, which is really low. What I want to do is I want to click the chest piece so it categorizes the chest. Click the substat, crit chance, and crit damage. It will then sort all my gears into crit chance and crit damage for the substat. So all these chest pieces will have those specific stats. Okay, so I found a gear that could potentially replace the previous gear. Something to note that I completely forgot to mention is that the rarity of the gear, it does matter extremely. Why does it matter? Because the rarity of the gear determines on how many substats you have, and that's also very important. For instance, let's look at purple gear. It has 3 substats. Then let's look at red gear. It has 4 substats. It means that for red gear, you can get a 5 roll increase on any one of these 4 stats. For purple gear, on the 12th roll, you will get a random 4th stat, meaning that you have 1 less potential of increasing the 3 other stats. When you find a gear that has the stats you desire, you now must enhance the gear to see if the RNG favors you. Click the enhance button right here. Every +3 enhancement will give you 1 increase to a random stat in the substat section, and each increase has its own potency. For example, if you roll into speed, you can get an increase between 1 to 5 speed. You basically must get lucky that it increases the stat you want and get lucky that the stat increase is high. It could increase your speed, but only by 1, which immediately makes the gear kinda trashy. Since the max enhancement is 15, it means that you have 5 chances of rolls at 3, 6, 9, 12, and 15. If you roll into a stat you don't want or got a low increase, you might want to scrap the gear altogether. Again, this is purely based on your gut feeling if the gear is not worth it or not. For new players, please be lenient, as any increase is an upgrade compared to your previous gear. Do not look at endgame veteran stats and try to copy theirs, because they've had much more experience than you and more trial and error. As you can see, that was a +3 increase on my speed, which is pretty good, so I'm going to keep going. That was only a +2 speed, but I'm going to keep going. That was a high roll of 7%, which is almost the max of 8%, which is really good. I'm going to keep rolling. As you can see right here, because this was purple gear, at +12 it gave me a random stat. If this was red gear, that increase could have been went to crit chance, crit damage, or speed, but instead, because it was purple, I will have to suffer 1 roll into a random stat. And I ran out of money, but you guys get the idea of how to upgrade. One tip I can give you is that focus on the armor charms you currently have. So if you're upgrading a chest piece, you want to only use armor charms. You don't want to use equipment charms, only use those very last. Equipment charms are charms that can be used for any piece of gear. Another tip I can give you is that whenever you're upgrading armor, don't just spam all your charms all at once. You want to go slowly, +3 at a time, or +1, +2 at a time. If you're getting really close toward getting a level, what you can do is you can do +2 and then hope that you get an extra bonus. So I couldn't demonstrate what I was talking about, but randomly whenever you're upgrading, you should see the word good or great appearing out of the little text box right here. That just means that you get a bonus experience for the charms or gear you use to sacrifice. So it's very important to do slow, like +2, +2, 2 charms at a time, or just go by slowly. And have to increase your chance of getting a greater boost of experience. So don't just like dump in all your highest tiers, because that would be really dumb. Let's say you've gotten a really good piece of gear and you wish to reforge it. Reforging just means that you're making a level 85 gear to level 90 gear, which increases all of its substats and as well as increasing the main stat of the item. So you click on Steel Workshop, go to Reforging. You select the type of hunt gear you have, and then in most 90% of the time it's going to be Wyvern. You're going to click that. You're going to find the weapon you want. So let me quickly find one. This one right here is pretty good. It has a pretty decent high health, so 26 will become 31, a speed will go 11 to 13, and then effect resistance will increase by 1. It only increases by 1 because I never rolled attack or effect resist. I rolled multiple times at the health and then multiple times at the speed, so of course it reflects into that. And if you can see, the main stats 500 to 525, and the item level is going to go from 85 to 90. It costs 350,000 gold, and then 200 ancient dragon's hearts. These are the reforged materials. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, please post it down below. And I know that the gearing in this game can be a little confusing, but it really isn't. I'll try my best to explain it to you. I do have a Discord, so feel free to join it if you need to ask me questions directly, and I'll see you guys next time.